What if Thomas Tuchel had to pick his England World Cup squad based entirely off this season? Well, this would be the 26-man squad. In goal, and there'd only be one change here. Jordan Pickford and Dean Henderson would still be on the plane, but the third choice goalkeeper, well, it wouldn't be James Trafford because he's not played anywhere near enough football. Nick Pope and Aaron Ramsdale have both been battling for Newcastle's #1 spot. However, Carl Rushforth has been the best goalkeeper in the Championship, so he'd be on the plane. But then at fullback, there's some huge changes because you'd still have Nico O'Reilly and you'd have Reece James, but your backups would be completely different because your backup left-back would have to be Luke Shaw. He's played 38 games this season, started every single game for Man United and been absolutely fantastic. And then your backup right-back, well, Trent's been not very good for Real Madrid. Tino Livramento's not played anywhere near enough football. Jed Spence is playing for Tottenham Hotspur, so it'd have to be Jayden Bogle. He's probably the best performing English right-back this season, other than Reece James. Then Thomas Tuchel picked 5 centre-halves in his 26-man squad. So if you're going along the same sort of vein here, Konza, Guehi and Kwanzaa would all still be on the plane. All have had very good seasons for their respective clubs. And then I think it'd be Maguire and Trevor Chalobah as your 4th and 5th choice. Both have had good seasons. Into the midfield and in the double pivot, Declan Rice and Elliot Anderson would definitely be starting. But if you're basing it off this season, Kobbie Mainoo's only really played half the season. You can't have Jordan Henderson in there. So it'd have to be Alex Scott and James Garner, who are both arguably their team's player of the year. Then ahead of him in the 10, you're still just about taking Jude Bellingham, even though he's not quite been as good as his usual standard. Morgan Rogers is obviously still going. And then Morgan Gibbs-White would 100% be on the plane if it's based off this last campaign, ahead of someone like an Eze. Then on to the wingers, and on the left-hand side, he's still taking Marcus Rashford, but I'd be taking Harvey Barnes over Anthony Gordon if you're basing it off this campaign. I think he's had a slightly better season, although the standard of left wingers in England right now isn't the best. And then on the right wing, he's still taking Bukayo Saka, and then obviously he should be absolutely nowhere near the squad. I'm not saying that in any way, shape or form, but for the sake of this video, based on this season, Mason Greenwood is the best performing English right winger. And then finally, the strikers, you're still taking Kane, you're still taking Watkins, but then the third choice, the third best English striker this season is probably Dominic Calvert-Lewin, ahead of Danny Welbeck and ahead of Ivan Toney, who's just out in Saudi Arabia. Yes, he scored loads of goals, but come on.